Hi everyone! Today we will be learning about half hours. Yesterday we talked about the hours and how we read it on a digital and analog clock. Well, today we're going to be doing the same thing but learning half hours. So before we get started, let's go over our I can statements. I can recognize the half hours on an analog and digital clock. Now our language arts I can statement is I can answer questions from the text. So now let's read what's the time, Mr. Wolf? Today we will be reading What's the Time, Mr. Wolf by Amanda Enright. What's the time, Mr. Wolf? It's 7 o'clock. Boing! It's time to get up. Mr. Wolf springs out of bed. What should I wear today? He wonders, pulling all his clothes out of the wardrobe. I know! I'm going to be a superhero! Mr. Wolf puts on his bright red cape and sparkly super goggles. What's the time, Mr. Wolf? It's 8 o'clock. Mr. Wolf is hungry and his tummy is rumbling very loudly. Gurgle. What's the time, Mr. Wolf? It's 9 o'clock. A superhero's teeth are always sparkly and clean, says Mr. Wolf. Squeech! Oops! Mr. Wolf steps on the toothpaste tube and the toothpaste squirts everywhere. What's the time, Mr. Wolf? It's 10 o'clock. A superhero needs a super fast bike. Thanks, Mr. Wolf. Off he goes. Zoom! He waves to the three little pigs. Hi, little pigs. See you this afternoon, he calls. What's the time, Mr. Wolf? It's 11 o'clock. Mr. Wolf passes by Kitty's house. Poor Kitty is stuck in the apple tree. Help! Hold on, Kitty, I'll save you, shouts Mr. Wolf. A superhero always comes to the rescue. What's the time, Mr. Wolf? It's 12 o'clock. All his superhero work is making me super hungry, says Mr. Wolf. I think it's time for a little snack. Mr. Wolf buys a snack, but it's not little at all. In fact, it's enormous. What's the time, Mr. Wolf? It's 11 o'clock. After a rest, Mr. Wolf is feeling super again. I think I'll go for a swim, he says. Superhero always needs to keep fit. On the diving board, Mr. Wolf goes boing, boing, boing and dives in with a huge splash. What's the time, Mr. Wolf? It's 2 o'clock. It's time for a game of football in the park. I'll use my super strength, shouts Mr. Wolf. He kicks the ball really, really hard and scores. Goal! What's the time, Mr. Wolf? It's 3 o'clock. Mr. Wolf visits the three little pigs. They are building a new house. Bing, clatter, bing. What's the time, Mr. Wolf? It's 4 o'clock. When the house is finished, the pigs make Mr. Wolf a giant cup of hot chocolate with extra marshmallows. A good superhero should always have a reward, says the littlest pig. Mr. Wolf loves hot chocolate. What's the time, Mr. Wolf? It's 5 o'clock. It's dinner time, and the three little pigs have come round to Mr. Wolf's house for a delicious feast. Munch. It's hungry work, being a superhero. Yum, yum, says Mr. Wolf. Slurp. What's the time, Mr. Wolf? It's 6 o'clock. Mr. Wolf has had a wonderful day being a superhero, and now he is feeling quite tired. He tucks himself into bed with a special bedtime story. A superhero always needs a good night's sleep, he says with a big yawn. What's the time, Mr. Wolf? Zzz. Shh. Good night, Mr. Wolf. Now that we read the book, I'm going to go over what half hour means. So looking at your clocks, if it's half hour, that means it's 30 minutes. And if the minutes go by fives, where do you think 30 minutes will be? Let's count by fives. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So whenever the minute hand is at the 30 at the 6, that means it's half hour. It's 30 minutes. Okay? And on the analog clock, we would write half hour. If we know half hour is 30 minutes, where the minutes go, we're just going to put 30. Okay? So now we are going to watch a video to learn a little bit more about half hour.
Hey there! Today we will learn how to tell and write time. First, let's learn how to tell time using digital clocks. This is pretty easy since all we have to do is read through the numbers. For example, let's read the time on this clock. Note that we have to read two numbers separated by a colon. So this clock says 8:30. Let's try the second clock. Notice that we have two zeros on the right side of the colon. This means 60 minutes or 1 hour has passed. However, we don't read it as 00. In telling time, we read this as o'clock. So this clock reads as 2 o'clock. Let's do more practice by matching the digital clock to the written time. Clock A is read as 3 o'clock. Clock B is read as 11 o'clock. Clock C is read as 5:30. Clock D is read as 9:30. Good job! Now, let's move on to telling the time using analog clocks. Analog clocks have two hands. The hour hand is the short one, and the minute hand is the long one. A few things to remember. If the minute hand is pointed at 12, it represents 60 minutes or 1 hour, and is read as o'clock. While if it's pointed at 6, it represents 30 minutes. And sometimes the hour hand will not point exactly at a number. In these cases, follow the number which it has recently passed. Let's try reading this analog clock. The hour hand is pointed at 4, and the minute hand is pointed at 12. So the time is 4 o'clock. How about this next clock? The hour hand is pointed somewhere between 8 and 9, meaning it is just past 8, while the minute hand is pointed at 6. So the time is 8:30. Let's test our time-telling skills by choosing the correct digital clock that matches the analog clock. The hour hand is pointed at 6, and the minute hand is pointed at 12. So the time is 6 o'clock. This is the same as digital clock B. Next, the hour hand is pointed between 1 and 2, meaning it is just past 1, while the minute hand is pointed at 6. So the time is 1:30. This is the same as digital clock A. Next, both the hour and minute hands are pointed at 12. So the time is 12 o'clock. This is the same as digital clock D. Next, the hour hand is pointed between 6 and 7, meaning it is just past 6, while the minute hand is pointed exactly at 6. So the time is 6:30. This is the same as digital clock C. You did great. I hope this helped you in learning how to tell and write time.
Now that we watched the video, we're going to do some practice problems. So I need you to take out your clock that you made. Okay? So if we know that the long hand, the minute hand, is supposed to be at the 6 for 30 minutes for half hour, let's say right here. So whenever it is a half hour, the hour hand will not be on a number like how it is for the hours. It's going to be in between two numbers. So right now, since it didn't pass the 3 yet, it's going to still be 2 o'clock, okay? Now, if the hour hand moved down and it's in between the 3 and the 4, it didn't go past 4 yet, right? So it's going to be 3. So if I do this time right here, what do you guys think this is? I think it's 8:30 because the hour hand didn't pass 9 yet. It's still close to the 8, so it's going to be 8:30. The minute hand is on the 6, which is what we said was 30 minutes. Okay, so let's go back to our analog clock. I mean our digital clock. So this is our digital clock, right? Let's say I want you guys to write this one down on digital clock. I'm going to hold up the time on my analog clock and I want you guys to write it down in a digital clock form. I'm going to give you guys like 2 minutes to look at my analog clock and write it down as a digital time. Okay, so we know that if the minute hand's on the 6, it's going to be 30 minutes, okay? So we're going to write down 30 minutes in the minute section, right, on the digital clock. We already know that one, right? It tells us it. Now, the hour hand is in between the 10 and the 11. Is it past the 11 yet? No. So it's still 10. So it's 10 hours. So to read this, it's 10:30. That's how you read half hours. And another thing is, if someone says, let's use this for an example, it's 10:30. Half past means 30 as well. So you could also say this, it's 10:30. And people will know, oh, it's 10:30 because half past is another word for half hour, and half hour is 30. Okay, let's do another one. This one might be a little tricky. I'm going to give you a couple seconds to look at my analog clock time and to write it down on your digital clock. Okay, well the minute hand is on the 30, right? Or on the 6, so that means 30 minutes. And it's in between the 7 and 6. Is it past the 7 yet? No, so it's still going to be 6 o'clock. So to write this on an analog clock, we know that the minute's 30, right? Half hour. And the hour is 6 because it didn't go past the 7 yet. So it's 6:30, or it's 6:30. One more. Let's do another one. Okay. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to read my analog clock time and to write it down on your digital clock. Okay. So we know when the minute hand's on the 6, it's going to be 30 minutes. So we're going to write down 30 minutes in the minute section. And for the hour, well, it's not past the 1 yet, so it's still going to be 12. The hour is 12 hours. And that will go in the hour spot. So to say this is, it's 12:30, or it's 12:30. Good job, guys. Now I'm going to be explaining the activity that you guys will be completing. So you guys should have received a little card that says, I have, and it will show you an analog clock time, who has, and it'll tell you a different time. So I want you to read and record yourself reading the card that you have. And once everyone sends me their video, I will put them in order and post it on Google Classroom so you guys can see in order who has what and how it connects to your card. Okay? You can, if you need help, you can always go back into this video to get more help on reading half hours. Now that you guys recorded yourself reading the cards, I'm going to do some more practice problems, but now I'm going to put the time on an hour. You know how we learned that, and then we learned that yesterday, hours. So if the minute hand's on the 12, we know it's going to be an hour of a number. So let's say it's 9 o'clock. We know the minute hand's on the 12 and the hour hand's on the 9, so it's going to be 9 o'clock. Now, if I say, what's the hour in 30 minutes? Well, we know 30 minutes. Well, let's start. We know it's 9 o'clock, okay? So we don't have any minutes, just 0. It's 9 o'clock. And if I say, what's the hour in 30 minutes? We're going to move this 5. This is still going to be on the 9. So let's count. Moving our minute hand. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So if the time's 9 o'clock and someone asks, what's the hour? What's the time in 30 minutes? It's going to be 9:30. Okay? So let's do another one. It will be 9:30. Let's do this time. What time is this? It's 3 o'clock because the hour hand's on the 3, and we know if the minute hand's on the 12, it's o'clock. So 3 o'clock. Now I want you guys to do 3 o'clock with your hands. So 12's up here, right? And 3's over here. 3 o'clock. Now, what's the hour in 30 minutes. Well, let's go back to our clock and count by fives. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And 30, if it's 3 o'clock, it's going to be 9:30 in 30 minutes, which is 9:30. So let's use that with our hands. So if it was an hour or 3 hours, now we have to move it to 30 minutes. So the minute hand will be down to the 6. So your hands on the clock should look just like the movement that you're doing, the way your hands look. Okay? So now that we did that, we're going to review what we learned today. Well, we learned that if the minute hand is on the 6, it's going to be 30 minutes. And we know that half past is another word for 30 minutes. So if the time is 1:30, it's 1:30. Okay? And if we know that if it's 4 o'clock and we say, well, what's the hour in 30 minutes? Or what's the time in 30 minutes? We know that we have to count each number by 10, and we go down to the 6, which is 30 minutes. So it would be 4:30. Okay? So before we leave, let's go over our I can statements again. I can recognize the half hours on an analog and digital clock. And I can answer questions from the text. So the assignment that needs to be done is you guys should receive, when you picked up your worksheet packets from school, a worksheet with times, and like analog times and digital times. So you need to cut out the analog clock and match it with the correct digital clock and paste it or tape it or whatever you have to do. So cut the analog clock time and tape it to the correct digital time. Okay? And if you ever need extra help, please feel free to reach out or re-watch this video. Bye guys!